There's quite the mess brewing in one state when it comes to public education, and one can only guess what will emerge as a political message from the coming CPAC gathering. All right, just some of what we will dig into with the former spokesman for President George W. Bush, also author of The War on Millennials, airing grievances and offering solutions through the eyes of America's next generation of leaders. Pete Seat on MidPoint and in the Electronic House. Good to see you again, Pete.
Good to see you. Happy President's Day.
Happy President's Day. There you go. See, you never think about that when you work in broadcasting because people say there's a Monday holiday and you go, what Monday holiday? We work on Mondays.
Yeah, and here we are, right?
We work on holidays. We are made to be here and working. We bring it to the people. And let's, speaking of which, bring what's happening here in Indiana. This is really incredible here. We have Mike Pence, the governor, is at war with the Indiana Superintendent of Public Instruction, Glenda Ritz. There is a new standardized test that is just weeks from coming out, being given to students. It would last 12 hours, and now the governor wants to have it to 6. Pete, excuse me a moment here. A 6-hour test, even to me, seems it's a little bit obsessive at this point. What's going on here, and why is a test 12 hours, and who's going to win this one?
Well, your guess is as good as mine on that front. You know, the I-STEP test, we call it here in Indiana, is a test I took when I was going through elementary, middle, and high school, and it's always a test that I dreaded taking, but I understood its importance in terms of measuring student growth and progress and grading our schools. We have an A through F grading system of school accountability, and it's also used, a small portion, to determine teacher accountability and teacher growth and to measure how well they're doing in the classroom. But this latest skirmish is really just one in a long line of what's become a partisan battle, as you outlined, over the last several years between the Democrat Superintendent of Public Instruction and the Republican governor in this state. And kind of in the middle of that is the State Board of Education. Members, Republicans, Democrats, and independents appointed by the governor to help implement education policy in this state. And social media was on fire when the news came out that this test was going to be a little over 12 hours because of new state standards and federal standards all being put in there, some pilot test questions as well. And the governor, an angry governor, a governor that we don't see very often angry, tried to get in there and fix it as quickly as he could.
But Pete, what's necessary here, I guess, is the whole thing. With kids getting ready for tests and having to sit there for 12 hours, I know Common Core is involved in this in many ways. We have so many other issues. What is really necessary here to be able to understand how smart a kid has gotten and how good or bad the teachers are doing? Do you really need 12 hours of testing?
Well, Common Core is not happening in Indiana, and that's part of what has taken place. Governor Pence pulled Indiana out of the Common Core standards and said that he wanted state standards that exceeded those, that were the highest standards in the country. And as a result of some of that, it required some extra testing time. At least the Department of Education is telling us that. It required extra testing time because some of the questions are more difficult. They wanted to give students more time to answer the questions. But right now you have two national experts, two consultants that the governor has brought into this to assess what can be taken out, what can be changed and improved to reduce the testing time. Either way, we're about a month away from these tests being administered, and parents and teachers and administrators around the state are watching this very closely. There's in fact a rally going on at the State House just a few blocks from where I sit today, in support of others.
All right, Pete, 20 seconds, real quick. In your opinion, who's at fault here? Governor or the education system?
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask her supporters, it's the governor. If you ask the governor's supporters, it's Superintendent Ritz, and no one seems to really know what happened and what the timeline was.
All right, we'll have to figure out what goes on here, but boy, I'll tell you, these kids having to sit there and now just a month away getting ready for a test and having to be told that it's going to change. Remind everybody, don't change your mind to find out what's happening about millennials. Make sure you check out Pete Seat's book, The War on Millennials. It's not that bad a war, trust me, and we don't try to hammer it down too hard. Pete, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, take care. Let the political hot winds blow through the Beltway, courtesy of the Sunday Smackdown next.